Well, Jeep says they're sending me a 2022 Grand Cherokee plug-in hybrid. This is the only spec sheet they have. 375 horsepower of a little 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Let's look for the price. Base price $65,760, but wait, options, no kidding. Okay, here are all the extras. A lot of stuff we don't really need, but get anyway. A tidy $75,305. Wow, well, let's go take a look at this baby. And we can do that right now. By the way, I forgot to mention the base price of the Jeep Grand Cherokee with the 6-cylinder engine starts around $38,000, so we're climbing up in the stratosphere here as far as price goes. We'll see if it's worth it as we continue with our test. We also tested the Kia Niro Hybrid PHEV. I'll have a link for that video at the end of this video. We also tested the all-electric Mercedes EQS 580 EV. We'll have a link for that one too coming up at the end of this video. We're in our test facility and storage locker, so let's open the door and roll out this Jeep. $70,000, wowee. Nice looking rig though. And the rear view. And they trucked it all the way from Michigan just for us. And one of the first things I want to do when I get a vehicle is to see if there's a spare tire, especially on an SUV. They might be going off-road, and yep, a nice full-size one under the floor. And the other thing we always do is take the headlights out in the dark and see how they perform. By the way, this has a thermal night vision system, so we will be taking that out and examine that as well, so stick around. We did a separate video for the headlight night vision system for YouTube, but if you haven't seen it, you see it here now on part 3 of the video. Alright, let's cut to the chase. Aside from the diesel option, which I don't think is available this year, it comes and goes year after year, I can't keep track. Otherwise, there are 3 gasoline engines available, the base V6, just under 300 horsepower. Move up to the 5.7 V8, 357 horsepower, torque rating just under 400, 395 pounds-feet of torque, if I recall correctly. This is the 4xe. The emblem tells you right here. Okay, you start off with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine rated 270 horsepower, torque output of 295 pounds-feet. Look to that are a pair of electric hybrid motors, creating 178 more horsepower for a total of 375. That's more than the 5.7 V8 Hemi, of course. Total torque output is a whopping 470 pounds-feet, very impressive. The entire combination is rate 23 mpg overall, running on the engine, power, and hybrid system alone. And on top of that, you have this separate battery system. Stick it in the wall charging, and after 3 hours in a 240-volt system, you should get 23 miles of electric-only power operation. So on paper, the way this works, you charge this up, go to work 23 miles, drain the battery, drive back 23 miles home on your gasoline engine, and you should be averaging 56 miles to the gallon, at least on paper. So let's get on the mileage computer and look at some numbers. 216 miles of electric driving, 403 miles of gasoline driving, for a total of 620 miles, averaging 22.7 mpg. Moving up the ladder, in the past 1,615 miles, 332 miles of electric, 1,283 of gasoline, averaging 22.2 mpg. A good portion of this was mixed city and freeway commuting. With the 6-cylinder, I got at 19 mpg in the same conditions, and with the V8, around 16 to 17 for comparison purposes. The big question is, how much of this electric driving was done by plug-in and how much was generated by the car? Some vehicles do that. What I'm going to do is reset one of these to 0 and drive with the main charging battery dead, just off the engine itself, and see what number we get. Like so, for the next 300 miles. Don't go away. Alrighty, down here in the console with all this shiny reflective plastic, we have the controls. Over here, drive mode, rock, sand, mud, snow, automatic, or sport. And over here, the air suspension with 5 different settings. And for the rear view mirror, we don't have a rear view mirror, we have a rear view camera system. Excellent quality, very good resolution. It's this way all the time when you're driving. You get a good view of what's in back of you and on the sides of you without having to look in the side mirrors. And if you're with the transmission in reverse, this is what you see. Exactly what's in back of you with some other options. A very nice camera system. Great resolution. Can't wait to try this out at night. And there's our thermal imaging camera system, which ordinarily would not be working during the day. Usually they have a cutoff device to prevent damage, but curiously this one works during the day. Surprise. We'll be taking this out at night, showing you how it works and what it's for. So you might want to watch the video until the end. You can also pull up navigation on the gauge cluster. You might have noticed a lot of glare. That's one of the negative things about this cabin. It's got lots and lots of shiny plastic, lots of shiny chrome, real or fake, reflecting off everything. Reflecting off the info screens. And this is supposed to be a passenger screen that has functions, but I've not been able to turn it on yet. Still working on that. Here you see the glare we're getting off the shift knob and the plastic, which makes this very, very hot to touch at certain times of the day. I don't understand why car makers want to put all this shiny chrome and shiny plastic in vehicles. And what's really curious, they have a test facility in Arizona, the sunniest place in the country. You would think somebody would notice, but that's just the way it is. Live with it. And yes, I know there's a lot of dust on here, but it's the desert. We have 20-mile-per-hour winds. You clean it, and 2 minutes later, it gets like this again. Not much I can do about it. But this is the 4-wheel drive low gearing for taking rough trails. Yes, we do have the capability. Okay, enough show and tell. Let's go out and do some driving. And the power steering system on this particular vehicle is very, very nice. Good response, good feel feedback. The engineers did a very nice job. I like this. The more air you put in a tire, the less rolling resistance, the better fuel economy you get. So car manufacturers are recommending these very high tire pressure sometimes to bump up the EPA figures. The problem is you might get the EPA figures, but then again at the same time you get a very rough ride. In this particular case, Jeep wants you to put 42 pounds of air in these tires, which I think is kind of crazy. I'm not going to tell you to lower the tire pressures down to 35. I'm just telling you I've tried it and it definitely smooths the ride out. It does not affect handling or stability at all. So we're going to test this with the tire pressures recommended for the time being, but if you own one of these, you have a choice. High tire pressures, stiff ride. Lower tire pressures, smooth ride. And having the tire pressures high with a rough ride defeats the whole point of having this nice, smooth air suspension, which works very, very well, by the way. Just letting you know it's your choice. Since this hybrid system puts out more horsepower than the V8 and far more torque, you might expect it to be a lot quicker in acceleration. Not quite, because you're carrying about a 1/4 ton more weight because of all the batteries and stuff. So let's put it in the sport mode and see what happens. Well, definitely got a lot of pickup, especially on the bottom end. Brake feels a little on the spongy side, as it is with a lot of these hybrid plug-ins, but you'll get used to it. I'd say where it's superior to the V8 is more in the bottom end, low RPM, if not the exact 0 to 60 time. We're going to reset the mileage computer, take this out and do some driving. Try to get at least 300 miles on it, and during that time I'm not going to be charging this battery at all. I'm going to be running it dead So I can see what the engine and hybrid system does by itself without assistance from this. So let's do it. And here are the numbers. Hard to see because of the glare. This Grand Cherokee Hybrid is a very smooth highway cruiser. If you're taking a lot of long trips, you'll probably be happy with it. At low speeds, this hybrid system does an excellent job providing a lot of torque. So between 25 miles per hour and 0 miles per hour, you have a lot of grunt going on under the hood. No complaints there. This Grand Cherokee isn't a race car, but with the air suspension, quick steering, and big tires, might as well take it out and see what it'll do in the cornering compartment. And it's doing pretty good, actually. And there's plenty of torque under the hood, so no problem pushing the gas pedal down. Got a lot of grunt at low speed. Well, the pavement ended, but it won't hurt the Jeep to get a little dust on it. That's what they're for, right? A clean Jeep is a Jeep that's not being used properly. Before we give this vehicle back, we really should do some off-roading out in the sticks. At 110 degrees outside, it's too hot to go too far back. Might melt the tires. With low-range 4x4 gearing and an air suspension that can raise the height of the vehicle, this does have off-road capability, of course. And last time I was here, there were about 100 bullet holes on the side panel, but I see somebody's been patching them up. Got some new ones here. Oh, same through the window. Shame, shame, shame. Especially if you're on the other side of the wall. For today's fuel economy test, we put 156 miles on the clock, and I never stuck this cord in to charge the main battery up. It's been depleted. So let's see what the figures are. So in 156 miles of driving, I noticed the vehicle managed to generate 20.8 miles of electric power, in spite of not being plugged in. And combining some expressway, heavy city traffic, and a bit of off-roading, our final MP was 17.5 mpg. Obviously, plugging this into a wall and charging up the vehicle with your 23 electric miles will bump up the MG figures more than we're seeing here. So what are my thoughts on this very expensive Grand Cherokee plug-in hybrid after week of driving? Well, if you're going to use this charging system on a daily basis, and you really should if you buy this to get your use out of it, maybe a thumbs up. But if you're not going to use this on a daily basis, there's really no reason to have it. You're not going to be getting your money's worth, and I suggest going to one of the strictly gasoline V8 or V6 engines. The V8 if you're towing a lot, if not, the V6 works just fine. The one I had before this got 18 mpg in mixed commuting, around 21 to 22 on the highway, which is more than adequate, and had more than adequate pulling power for the gear I was hauling. But take your pick, V6, the V8, or this, whatever works for you. This includes the main testing if you want to see our night drive, as well as observe how the thermal night vision system works. Well, here's your chance to find out. We're going to go there right now. I think that's the lens for the thermal, if I'm correct. Could be wrong. It's dark enough. We're going to take these headlights out in the dark so they perform, but first we're going to take a look at the thermal night vision system. That's the big prize here. So let's give you an example. Here we have the low beams on a wall 33 yards away. Very bright, good height, just above the bushes. And if we go down, we have the thermal vision turned on. We'll explain what we're looking at in just a minute. And here we have the brights on, very powerful. Very, very powerful. These are pretty good. If you're wondering what that little white dot is, that's the heads-up display in the windshield. I haven't been able to figure out how to turn this off yet. We'll get to it eventually. But that does not affect the night vision. So how does thermal vision work? Well, it works by attracting heat. The hotter, the whiter. The colder, the darker. And here we have this employee hosing down the sidewalk. Now, why would you want this on a motor vehicle? Well, the advantage here is you can see through fog, smog, smoke, and occasionally a dust storm. So if you live on the east and west coast where there's a lot of fog, if you find yourself in a dust storm, you can see other people, even though they can't see you. Of course, that's the disadvantage. They can't see you, you can still get hit. Well, here you can drive around them, or drive on an open road without running into a tree. And this technology is not cheap. A decent handheld unit is around $2,000 to get performance like this. And here you can see the white spots from the engine heat and the tire heat. Oopsie daisy, get back in focus. So is this practical in everyday use? That's open to debate. Like I said, it's for very special occasions. If you live where you might need those special occasions, you get some use out of this. Otherwise, it's an expensive toy to impress all your friends. If you're looking to have a motor vehicle that has all the options, this will top you off. This brings us to another cool feature. Instead of a typical rearview mirror that reflects glass, this is a rearview camera setup, giving a very wide view of what's in back of you. Definitely a nice thing to have. Gives a good view on the side too, so you don't have to keep looking at your left and right outside mirrors. And the high beams on these headlights definitely light up the highway. All those road signs down there. These are very, very strong headlights. And this is what the entire system will look like with the night vision when you're driving. Look up or look down. So let's go back to testing some other stuff on our night drive. So in addition to the rear view camera in our rear view mirror, which isn't really a mirror at the moment, go down, put the transmission in reverse, and here's what the camera system looks like. Far better resolution in person than what I have on my cheap handheld camera here. All kinds of different choices. Again, very nice resolution. But that's what we're paying for. And all the other controls below for the climate control and shifting and raising the suspension and choosing the drive mode. Very easy to see. And if you're four-wheeling at night, some nice graphics up on the gauge cluster to show you what's going on. The emergency flashers with the headlights on, because these are very, very bright headlights, they're slightly hard to see, but then the emergency lights are pretty bright too, so close range not a problem. And the view from the rear, license plate lights up pretty good. These side mirrors light up too. Definitely turn off the tail lights, now we can see an awful lot more. Wow, what an improvement in the front. Even though these are skinny lights, definitely high output. And that includes our night drive. If you do a lot of driving after hours, they'll definitely appreciate this Jeep Grand Cherokee. We have no complaints whatsoever with this performance tonight.